Number 1 on this list is a city where gangs control entire neighborhoods, ambush police on sight, and even stormed the national prison to free thousands of inmates in a single night. These are the top 10 most dangerous cities in the world, ranked by real homicide data. Number 10, Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. Estimated homicide rate, around 76 per 100,000 residents. Port of Spain is the kind of city that tricks you at first glance. You see cruise ships at the harbor, carnival costumes in shop windows, street food stands, bright colors, loud music. But just a few blocks inland, the atmosphere shifts. In neighborhoods like Laventille, Beetham, or Morvant, entire blocks are carved up by gangs that have been fighting each other for years. These aren't huge foreign cartels with logos and branding. They're local crews, family-based, street-level, but heavily armed. Imagine this. A father walks his child to school early in the morning. The sun's barely up. At the corner, a car slows down. Windows tinted. No one says a word. The father pulls his child back behind a wall because he knows if that car belongs to the wrong people, gunfire could erupt at any second. There have been funerals here where mourners were sprayed with bullets because the deceased had gang connections. There are weekends where double-digit body counts push the government to declare states of emergency. And yet, you can stand in the business district by the waterfront and feel safe. Clean sidewalks, office towers, banks, embassies, heavy police presence. It's the same city on paper, but it might as well be a different country. Port of Spain shows us how a city can contain both paradise and war, separated not by oceans, but by a few city blocks. And if you think that contrast is extreme, wait until you see what's happening in number 9. Number 9, Zamora, Mexico. Homicide rate, roughly 85 per 100,000 residents. Zamora lies in the state of Michoacán, a region that feeds much of the world with avocados, limes, and other crops, and feeds Mexico's homicide statistics with a horrifying number of murder cases. Here, violence doesn't just happen at night in back alleys. It happens on farm roads at noon, outside packing plants, on highways, in tiny villages that barely appear on the map. Cartel groups and so-called self-defense militias fight over the most basic thing: control of economic life. Farmers are told how much to sell for, who they can sell to, and how much they must pay in protection fees. Picture a farmer driving a pickup truck full of crates. He turns a corner on a rural road and finds it blocked by armed men. They check his cargo, take a cut of the profit. Maybe his truck, maybe his life, depending on who he's rumored to be dealing with. In Zamora, people go missing along these roads and are never seen again. Mass graves have been discovered in the surrounding region, filled with victims of these territorial wars. Inside the city itself, you still see kids playing football in the street, church bells ringing, markets opening every morning. But behind that fragile normality, everyone knows this is contested ground. Zamora shows how an ordinary agricultural city can be turned into a battlefield without tanks, without fronts, just silence, threats, and bodies in the ground. And yet, the next city is even more dangerous, especially if you wear a police uniform. Number 8, Celaya, Mexico. Homicide rate, about 87 per 100,000 residents. Celaya, in Guanajuato, sits along a vital industrial and logistical corridor. Highways, railway, fuel pipelines, all the infrastructure that keeps an economy moving. And that's exactly why it's soaked in blood. The battle between the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel and the Jalisco New Generation cartel has turned Celaya into one of the most dangerous cities in Mexico for law enforcement. There are stories of patrol cars ambushed with automatic weapons, officers tracked down at their homes, and even family members targeted as retaliation. Imagine being a cop here. You put on the uniform and you become a walking target, not just for yourself, but for everyone you love. It goes beyond police. Gas stations that refuse to pay extortion sometimes end up burned. Businesses that accidentally serve someone on the wrong side may get hit with drive-by shootings. Meanwhile, big industrial parks have private security, cameras, perimeter fences, entrance badges. Inside those fences, life feels almost normal. Outside, it's a city under siege. Celaya is what happens when an entire city is caught in a tug-of-war between two criminal armies. But our next city proves that sometimes the front line runs right through the prison yard. Number 7. Machala, Ecuador. Homicide rate around 87.5 per 100,000 residents. Machala is a coastal city near the border with Peru, home to one of Ecuador's key ports. For years, it was known for bananas, shrimp, and fishing boats. Now, it's known for something else: a sudden, brutal explosion of cartel violence. Ecuador went from relatively calm to one of Latin America's most violent countries in just a few years. Machala sits right in the middle of that transformation. In and around the city, rival gangs battle for control of port access, container yards, and smuggling routes. But some of the worst violence happens behind prison walls. Inside local prisons, riots have turned into massacres. Inmates armed with rifles, machetes, and grenades fighting for dominance. Some of these fights are so intense that entire wings are burned out, and dozens die in a single day. On the outside, shop owners and bus drivers receive phone calls they know they can't ignore. Pay us every week, or something happens to your family. People still go to work, kids still go to school, but the city moves with a kind of controlled fear, like everyone is waiting for the next explosion. Machala marks Ecuador's fall from stability into chaos. But number 6 is a reminder that in some places, even family parties aren't safe anymore. Number 6. Ciudad Obregón, Mexico. Homicide rate about 89 per 100,000 residents. Ciudad Obregón sits in the municipality of Cajeme in Sonora. It's surrounded by farmland, industry, and highways stretching toward the U.S. border. It's also caught in a brutal realignment of power inside the Sinaloa cartel and its offshoot factions. Different cells, sometimes once allies, now fight to control local plazas, the territories used for moving drugs, people, and money. One of the most disturbing incidents here happened at a quinceañera, a 15th birthday celebration. Gunmen burst into the party and opened fire, killing multiple guests and injuring many more. The target was reportedly one cartel-linked attendee, but everyone else in that room paid the price for his connections. There are also stories of cartel members executed inside hospitals, of doctors forced to operate with armed men watching, of neighborhoods where unknown vehicles mean everyone quietly disappears indoors. Despite this, you can walk through certain parts of Ciudad Obregón, past malls, cafes, universities, and see what looks like a normal Mexican city. But just beyond that, there are blocks where people only go out when they absolutely must. Ciudad Obregón is a city where danger doesn't hide in specific neighborhoods. It can appear anywhere, at any time. And yet, the city at number 5 manages to be even more infamous. Number 5, Tijuana, Mexico. Homicide rate, roughly 91 per 100,000 residents. Tijuana is one of the most famous border cities in the world, and one of the deadliest. On the surface, it's busy and alive. Bars and clubs, taco stands, clinics for medical tourism, shopping streets full of visitors from across the border. But step out of the main tourist zone, climb into the hillside colonias, and you find a very different city. Here, rival groups fight for micro-territories. One street corner to sell drugs, one stretch of sidewalk to tax migrants, one intersection to control vehicle theft and extortion. There are nights when multiple cars are set on fire across the city to stretch police thin, decoys to distract them from targeted killings happening elsewhere. There are mornings when residents wake up to see a body hanging from an overpass with a message written on a banner for everyone, especially rival gangs, to read. Despite that, thousands of people cross the Tijuana-San Diego border every day, many of them barely aware of how intense the violence can be just a few neighborhoods away. Tijuana is a city where two realities coexist. One marketed to tourists, one lived by those who can't leave. But our next city shows what happens when a port becomes the center of a cartel's global empire. Number 4, Manzanillo, Mexico. Homicide rate, about 92 per 100,000 residents. Manzanillo is Mexico's busiest Pacific port. Huge container ships line the docks, cranes tower over the water, and thousands of tons of cargo move through every day. Mixed into that illegal cargo are things that never appear on official manifests. cocaine from Colombia, chemical precursors from Asia, weapons, and cash. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel has used this port as a key node in its international network. To control the port is to control the flow of synthetic drug production and distribution. That's why the violence here looks like something out of a narco thriller. Shootouts outside warehouses, ambushes on highways linking the port to the interior, corrupt officials targeted when they step out of line or refuse to play ball. There are stories of firefighters being shot at while trying to put out blazes, started deliberately to destroy evidence. And yet, tourists still sunbathe on nearby beaches, taking photos of the same ocean that hides roots worth billions. Manzanillo is proof that behind every tranquil postcard port, there might be a whole shadow economy defended with bullets. But even this doesn't crack the top 3. Number 3, Acapulco, Mexico. Homicide rate, around 102 per 100,000 residents. Acapulco used to be an international icon of glamour. Movie stars, politicians, the global elite, all came here to watch cliff divers, drink cocktails, and marvel at the bay. Today, Acapulco is one of the most notorious killing grounds in the Western Hemisphere. Gangs and local cartels fight over everything: bus routes, markets, extortion in hillside neighborhoods, drug sales in tourist bars, and rural roads leading to poppy-growing areas in the mountains. If you own a small business here, there's a good chance you're paying someone just to keep your doors open. In some cases, you're paying more than one group, because picking the wrong side could get you killed. Add to that the impact of devastating hurricanes that knocked out power, destroyed homes, and weakened already fragile institutions. And you get a city where disaster recovery and organized crime overlap in the worst possible way. Tourists still stroll along the beach in the golden and diamond zones, often surrounded by heavy security. But just a few streets away, in the hills above the bay, families live with nightly gunfire. Acapulco is a symbol of how quickly a paradise can become a war zone and how hard it is to bring it back. Yet in terms of homicide rates, it's still only number 3. Number 2, Colima, Mexico. Homicide rate, about 127 per 100,000 residents. Colima is a relatively small city, but its numbers are enormous. It's the capital of the same state whose coastline includes Manzanillo, and it's deeply intertwined with that port's criminal economy. Here, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and rival factions fight not just over territory, but over internal power struggles. Some of the killings look almost surgical. Assassinations of judges, attacks on local officials, high-profile murders of people seen as obstacles. Then there are the massacres that barely make international news. Gunmen entering small shops and opening fire. Bodies found in rural areas outside the city. Families quietly packing up and leaving because they know they've been noticed by the wrong people. Colima feels like a pressure point, a small urban area carrying a level of violence more typical of an active war zone. In almost any other ranking, Colima would sit at number 1, but there is one city where the murder rate is higher and where the state itself is barely hanging on. Number 1, Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Estimated homicide rate, around 139 per 100,000 residents. Port-au-Prince is not just a dangerous city. It's a capital on the edge of complete state collapse. Armed gangs control the majority of the urban area. They man checkpoints, tax vehicles, extort businesses, kidnap for ransom, and fight each other over control of slums, roads, and access to critical infrastructure. In early 2024, something happened here that almost no other modern city has seen. Gangs attacked Haiti's main national prison and freed thousands of inmates in one coordinated assault. At the same time, gunfire echoed not far from the international airport. Flights were suspended. People hid in their homes, watching smoke rise over the runway. Across the city, police stations have been overrun or abandoned. In many neighborhoods, there is no meaningful state presence at all. Instead, gangs enforce their own rules: who can open a shop, who can cross a street, who must pay how much, and what happens to those who refuse. Yet even here, there are pockets of resilience. People organize community watches. Neighbors share food when roads are cut off. Parents still send their children to whatever school is open, hoping each morning that the road is quiet. Port-au-Prince tops this list because it isn't just suffering from high crime. It's living through a complete breakdown of order, where survival depends on knowing not just where to go, but who controls the ground beneath your feet. You've just seen the 10 most dangerous cities in the world in 2024, measured by one of the harshest indicators there is, homicide rates. But numbers alone don't tell the whole story. Even in these cities, there are safe streets, strong communities, and people working every single day to push back against the violence. What these rankings really show is not just how dangerous these places are, but how resilient their residents have to be just to live an ordinary life. Which city on this list shocked you the most? And which one should we explore in a full documentary-style deep dive next? Let me know in the comments. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and stay curious.